Welcome to the Absolute Podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. I was reading this National Geographic book, and you were one of the first photos. Anybody that's watching the video, this is the photo that I saw,
Yeah,
and it's so beautiful. It captured my eyes, and I was like, man, I was like, who took this? Like I was like, who did this? Because I was like, this is unbelievable. And then I
I have
started
so
looking
many
into
of
it.
those National Geographics at home. I have literally one right here too.
It's funny. I don't. Well, it doesn't surprise me. If I had my own wicked photos on here, I would caught myself one of those
Yeah, I think
books.
I'm looking at 20 right now on the thing. They're literally everywhere around this house right now. So
Yeah, yeah. You probably have a bunch. Yeah, I have a whole stack. It's probably I don't know, like a lampshade high, but probably like I don't know, 25 books.
yeah, well, as a kid, we always had so many National Geographics all the time. So we just had boxes and boxes and boxes of them.
Yeah, there's so much information too. It's I don't know. It's like if you needed to pick one book for the rest of your life, you just collect those. You'd have unlimited information.
No, exactly. I used to model like clay animals and things out of them when I was a kid. Like that was the first inspiration to wildlife anyway.
Wow, that's sick. Yeah, so you're a photographer and you've been doing it your whole life since what, 10 years old, roughly?
Yeah, 8 years old. So
Wow. What
more than
camera did you start out with?
I had a little I think it was a Sony or something point, like it was a tiny point and shoot camera. My grandma has it in Slovakia now. I actually asked her if when I was there recently, I asked if she still has it. She does. So I was like, okay, we need to save this somewhere because
Yeah.
yeah, it was just a little tiny point and shoot, and then ultimately I ended up inheriting cameras after my dad. So whenever he got a new camera, I ended up picking up
Just
his
using
old body,
hand-me-downs?
and yeah.
Yeah, that's wicked. Yeah,
Yes.
I recently just started like looking into like wildlife photography and like videography and like looking like what it takes to get into it. I think there's a lot more work than I realized into it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna actually like try to do it. It's just it's an interest, and I like to try everything. So it'd be fun to
Yeah,
get
it's
into.
a lonely job a lot of the time. I mean, you dedicate your life to filming subjects who are by no means people, even though they act like people sometimes.
Yeah,
And yeah, you're just out in the field, mostly alone, but sometimes with a select group of people, and you're there for months and months, and then you come home and then you're gone for months and months. So it's
yeah.
yeah, you're almost never home anyway.
Is it a single man's type of job or what?
I mean, it should be.
Should be, yeah.
Um, can't say that it is, but I mean, I do have a girlfriend, but she is very supportive, surprisingly. But it is that juggle of like this summer, I got asked to go to Greenland and the Arctic and do a bunch of expeditions. But knowing that next year I'm probably gone for 6 or 7 months, I was like, no, I need to stay here in the at least this summer for a change.
Yeah. How old are you right now?
I'm 26.
26. Oh, you're young. You're still young. I'm only 20, but I'm saying as if I'm older than you, but I'm not.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Surprise, I'm 47. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. That picture is unbelievable. Like unbelievable. And the moments you've captured. And your first interest in polar bears or just bears in general, is that
Yeah, it was 2000. I mean, I've always been, like I said, like I was always interested in the natural world. So I knew of polar bears, obviously, who hasn't? But in 2015, my dad and I went to the Arctic for the first time, and we ended up um coming across a polar bear swimming, and some beluga whales were swimming under it, and they were almost playing with it and toying with it. So it was something unique, something that not even necessarily the people that were with us, the guides, have seen. And yeah, sort of the idea was born that let's go document these animals. Let's return a few times. So I ended up coming back year after year, and just before the pandemic happened, I had one of my long, like I would say, best travel years. I was in South America, I was in Europe, I went to Antarctica, traveled in the States. I was supposed to go to Asia. And then the pandemic happened, so my trip to Asia got completely scrapped, and it's like, what do we do? I can't stay in Vancouver. I can't stay anywhere in one place. After like 2 weeks, I end up getting antsy and I have to leave somewhere. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the idea came to mind to go back up to the Arctic and film the polar bears.
Unbelievable. What's have you had any scary encounters, or are you pretty safe with it, or
Yeah, I mean, scary encounter. Not in terms of polar bears. Not necessarily. Like by the time we walk amongst them and get close to them, I know them.
mm-hmm.
I like to say I know them better than some of my friends. Like you live with them. You
Yeah.
know, it's not like you go to a fancy hotel at the end of the night. Like you
Yeah.
leave the polar bear and you move 10 meters, and then that's where you go to sleep. So you're really in that environment. And the Bears know that. So as much as you know them, they know you. So by the time we go with them, I don't feel threatened, nor I don't think they do. And but the biggest challenge is the environment. Like an article came out recently when I was in Slovakia, and it was like wildlife photographer Martin Gregus survived like Arctic storms and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's to sum it up, that's kind of what we did. We survived. Like it was 5 days of absolute madness and hell, and it was awful, and we did not think that we would, to put it bluntly, but we did, and we came home.
So I guess that's the sacrifice that you're making.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you're working in some of the world's most dangerous places in terms of environmental conditions. Like I wouldn't classify the Arctic as a dangerous place, but it's unpredictable. You can be on the moon for all intensive purposes and face similar challenge. Like it's crazy. And then obviously you're filming these animals, and they're still wild animals.
Yep.
As much as they seem cozy and fuzzy and playful, they are still wild. So you face those challenges and those threats for sure.
Mm-hmm. Do most photographers like do they choose a niche? Like I know you definitely I checked out your website, like all the pictures that you take, and it's a lot of landscape and insects and bugs, but there's also a lot of wildlife photographers. And I don't know if that's what you consider yourself. Is that what you consider yourself, wildlife photographer?
Yeah, I mean,
More or less.
now in the sense of like National Geographic and all the publications and my current profession in natural history, yeah, like I'm a wildlife photographer, cinematographer. Um, but in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't go into that sort of classification. Like I am a photographer. Like when I'm traveling and I'm in a city, I'm not putting my camera down. I mean, a little bit more now, just because I put it this way: like if no one's really paying me, I like a vacation now. Like I
Yeah.
work 9 months out of the year, 24/7, so I do appreciate a break. But still, I always have my camera on me. I'm always taking pictures. When I'm in the city, it's people. When I'm at home, we have a photography studio literally on the other side of this wall. um so it's, photography as a profession. And I think, like, growing up, I was working with a few photographers just as friends, and they were like, you need to divide your website. Like you can't have people on the same page that you have wildlife, and it distracts and all of this stuff. And I ended up that's the reason I ended up dividing websites. Like I have a people's website and I have a nature website. But ultimately, I thought it was kind of strange because I said, "You're a photographer. Like, you can have a specialty. Like, turns out my specialty right now is polar bears. But next year it's going to be something else, and the year after that it can be something completely different. I don't think you need a specific topic as long as you have the eye for it."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Do you wait? Do you like choose what you want to film? Is it kind of
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, just because like the polar bear expedition, it wasn't done with National Geographic. It wasn't done with any publication. It was sort of a passion project that me and my father dreamt up and decided to do. Much like most of my expeditions up to basically this year, they were all passion projects. There were ideas that we came up with, the ideas that we funded and paid for, with the hopes that maybe they'll go somewhere and maybe they won't. and a few times they didn't, and this one time they did. Um, so up until this point, I was largely picking and choosing what I shoot. Now it's more focused on who wants to work with me, and they tell me, okay, next week you're filming this animal, or next week you're going to Antarctica or something like that. That being said, I still think it is, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? So I try and keep certain trips and projects on the side, and do like, say, 6 or 7 months working, and then do like 1 month passion project, and still have something.
So, who's telling you where to go and what to do and like film certain is National Geographic reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, we need you in this place." Like,
Yeah, like not at this stage currently, but that's kind of potentially where it goes. It's the publication or the broadcaster or someone, they'll hire you to do a certain thing. Like, for instance, I specialize in the polar regions, Arctic and Antarctic. And right now, if anyone, not anyone, but for the most part, if people want to shoot in the Arctic, they'll send me an email and say, "Hey, listen, we're interested in this animal or this region. Can you go film it, or do you already maybe have some footage from it?"
cool, that's wicked.
Yeah, it keeps you busy.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot more work into it. So for a passion project, when you're like, all right, I'm really inspired by this animal or this nature or whatever you want to go film, you're completely using your own resources to like stay out there and like plan everything and like that's
Yeah,
what you're
like,
doing.
yeah, using my own resources, my own connections. It takes a mountain. Like, I went out there with 3 people. My dad came after 4 people to film the polar bears, but the list of people that helped on that project was pretty extensive. And it's people usually donating their time, their resources, their boats, their equipment, things like that. But a lot of the time, ultimately, it is me and my dad working in Vancouver, and making money here, and then funding these trips. Which, the Arctic is really expensive. It takes a lot of funding to get up there, just to even fly. Like, Churchill is nice in the sense that it's relatively accessible. But my other projects that I did further up north, you're looking at like $6,000 flight ticket round trip. Like, if I want to go to Antarctica, like, I have a project that I'm currently working on right now. It's like $100,000 to rent the boat for a month. Like,
Wow.
um, it's numbers that just, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a risk too, right? Not every time it's going to be a success.
Oh, it's a 50-50, right? Like, some people gamble in casinos, and we gamble on wildlife.
Yeah.
And
Like sometimes
sometimes
animals
it
aren't going
pays
to be
off,
doing
and
their thing. Sometimes you're not going to
sometimes
be
they're not even
doing
going to
your
be
job.
there.
Yeah, right. Right. You show up and
you
it's
know,
like this is not what the other stories I've heard
yeah.
or whatever.
Like, I did a almost 2 month shoot last year, and out of the 2 months, we ended up filming for 9 days.
Wow.
Um, so it's, the environment, unpredictability, all of these things. Like, when you film in a predictable environment, that story has probably been done multiple times. But even predictable landscapes, like, say, like Africa, and the stories coming out of there, like, it's everything is becoming more unpredictable.
Hmm. Um, equipment wise, like is everything like solar powered or
Yeah,
like
we have a mix of both. I had solar panels on the last trip. I I, I didn't want to use them fully, just because I didn't trust it to power the amount of kit we have. Like, drones flying nonstop. You have 9 or 10 batteries on rotation, camera gear, remote kits, like all of this stuff. So I didn't trust that it would just be powered by a solar panel. And then we ran a generator to power all our kit. And then a polar bear one day decided that he was gonna tip over the generator, and it actually flooded the engine. So
you shouldn't make
5 or 6
mistakes on that.
days. Sorry.
You shouldn't have left the steak on it.
Uh, yeah, I mean,
That's all curiosity from the polar bear, but
oh yeah, no, he was probably looked like a good red steak to him, but yeah, so he tipped it over and flooded the engine, and that was 6 days before the end of our expedition, and we had no way of getting out because A, you don't want to, you're not finished yet, and B, there was a storm coming, so we didn't even really have a choice to leave. So we ended up having to rely on the solar panel. Actually, the solar panels managed pretty well, two of them to power most of our kit. You end up rationing a little bit, and when it's cloudy, you're not shooting anyway, so it kind of works out. But yeah, it was not by choice, but it definitely worked out.
yeah, there's a little bit of survival in there, especially when you grow up and you're not like adapted to certain environments. It's difficult. I can definitely see it, but it's like
No, it's yeah, it's a change for sure. Not it's not for everyone.
no, I guess if you're like a little bit thrill seeking or a little bit of adrenaline rush, I guess in a sense, kind of like the unknown or the unpredictable, then it's perfect. But again, if you're
No,
just
it's I mean, I'm crazy, so I thrive in that environment. Like even yesterday, I was on a film set here in Vancouver, and it was cold and like it's autumn already, and cold and rainy, and I'm walking around in a t-shirt and a hoodie and jeans and runners, and everyone's wearing like 10 layers and raincoats and all this stuff, and then like,
yeah,
I'm like, well, like I'm fine. Like I'm warm. When I'm warm, I'm warm. Like when I get cold, then I'm cold forever. But
yeah.
um
I'm the same way. My temperature in my body, it's like if I'm snowboarding and I start to get cold, like I get cold, freezing. But if I
yeah.
get a little bit warm, I just heat right up. Like it's almost like a off and on switch. It's not in
Yeah, I'm
one
either
place.
one or the other, but
Yeah.
like, like even yeah, like I can't say like one time yesterday I did go out, I was freezing my ass off and then went inside, heated up, and I was fine for 3 hours. Like
Wow.
but yeah, in the Arctic that's something that's constantly there, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a humid and cold environment.
Yeah. I had a question and I lost my mind. I forget what I was gonna ask. Uh, great. Dang it.
Probably not that important.
Yeah, must not have been that important if it slipped my mind.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, yeah, we were talking about yeah, just the weather and the climate. It is hard on your kit too, like um all the equipment, the amount of stress it goes through on these expeditions. It's like when I always expect when I leave the house that something is gonna break.
yeah.
And then when it breaks, I'm like, okay, that's the thing that broke for the trip. And it's a little it's something every single trip something breaks.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
kind of a given. But it's just a matter of what and how much.
Yeah. It's like me filming podcasts. Like I have multiple hard drives on the go. Like I just, you know what I mean? You never know when one's just gonna give out on you or I don't
No,
know. I think
exactly.
technology's
We
just iffy in that sense.
I've learned the hard way multiple times. I did lose a drive and I don't even know what was on it at this point. It was like 4 years ago, but
Yeah.
it happened. So now we have backups on backups on backups. It's easier now, like, but ultimately, like, I came from Europe. My family are immigrants. It's not like we have money. So
Yeah.
we never really had like, you had money to put your pictures on a hard drive. You didn't really have them to put on two.
Yeah, right.
So it's slightly easier now, but even now I'm like I know I have to, but do I have to? Like
Yeah, seriously. It's like, oh, one's fine, but then it's like, oh, I'll spend the extra few minutes just getting the extra.
no, especially on trips like this, right? Like it costs you $60,000 to get up there and film a polar bear. Like you're gonna pay $300 for a hard drive.
Yeah, seriously. How does that? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Whatever you don't want to talk about, you like just tell me. But how does that work for making money as a photographer? Like, how are you? How do you decide to sell your photos and videos? Like, what makes it more expensive or more
Mhm.
cheaper?
Yeah,
Like,
like I sell my pictures for I don't think I sell them for a lot based on how much it costs to go on these trips. I think I'm selling them very cheap. But I value my work, and I much rather sell 2 pictures a year, signed copies that have a print on the back saying this is 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20. And that's how many pictures are for the expectancy of my life. That's how many pictures are going to be of that one print.
Hmm.
And I much rather do that than sell, 10,000 pictures on Hallmark cards in Walmart, and have them completely lose their value, because it does, for me, quantity is not necessarily quality. So I don't sell that many prints. I can't say I do. Like, we sell maybe a few dozen a year, more now after National Geographic of those prints. But yeah, again, they're in extremely low numbers, like literally printed out at home, on like quality printers, but not through doesn't go through a factory or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's completely unique, and I kind of like that style of like a collection, and then you kind of drop that
mhm.
collection. It's like, hey, that's all there is. Like, you get
No,
one
it's
of that. It was taken in 2018, and then move on to the next year, and you got a new
and
one coming.
it's an artistic collection, right? And people look at the prints, and I get asked all the time, like, oh, like, less so now. I like, before I had a name for myself, people always ask that question of like, why, like, who do you think you are, like National Geographic photographer or something like that? It's like, yeah, well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
uh,
throw up your books and just be like,
yeah, like,
I don't know what to say.
so now people don't question it. People, if they want to print now, if it's more expensive, they just simply go for a smaller print, or I make them a deal. Like, I don't, that's the thing of owning all your work and owning all your rights, and respecting it, is, someone messages me that they want something, I don't like to shy away from it.
Yeah.
And same goes for interviews too. Like, I had a girl message me a few months ago. She is works in the UK as a writer, and she's going to school for it, and she's like, I need to interview a famous person for my article, like, would you be interested? And she's like, I completely get if you're not, but like, if you are, I'd definitely be interested. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, like, why not? I'm not gonna I
Right. No,
treat,
I totally agree.
yeah, like, I'll treat a reporter for Time magazine the same as I will a student in Scotland. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make
We
a difference to me.
right, Spartan, we need more of that. We need more of that. It's like the saying, like, you treat the janitor the same as you treat a CEO, kind of thing, of the company, right? It's
No, it's, and I think a part of it is like, I don't know, being around these animals, you grow a little humble, humble, I guess. Like,
yeah,
you're sitting next to a 1,500-pound polar bear, and he's choosing not to eat you.
yep,
And instead she's sitting there sleeping, or she's nursing her cub or something like that. Like, something about that, just, it touches you, and
yeah,
it does change you a little bit.
yeah. I remember reading that article of the mother nursing her two cubs, and then left the cubs almost in
Yeah.
your hands, in a sense. Not really, but you were right there, and she was gone, like going to get food, and that's like almost like you said, it was a well, there's that connection, but it was just like how do you, I don't know how to put it, but
It's, I mean, magical is probably the best. Magical and confusing, because like, I remember that moment, and I didn't know what was happening. Like, and that was the thing with these expeditions, is no one prepares you for it. And same with photography as a career. There's no book that says, you're going to go after high school, you're going to go to this school, and you're going to get this degree, and then you're going to be able to get this job, and this is going to be your life, this is going to be your paycheck, and at the age of 52 you're going to retire, and this is your life.
mhm.
Like, with this, there's no such thing like it. Like, some of us succeed, some of us don't. And um yeah, you can't say that. Like, when I started 19 years ago, I knew photography was going to be my career. I knew that's the one thing I wanted to do. But like, I didn't know who to follow, what to follow, like, what was going to happen. Like, you send 300 emails, and you hope that maybe one of them is going to come back to you. You put yourself in danger in these environments to shoot these animal or film these animals, and hopefully someone notices, and eventually someone does. But you just don't know what's that going to happen. And even now, like my life is unpredictable. Like I don't for now, like I don't really know what's going to happen next year, yet alone the year after that. And after 25 right now, I have zero idea what's happening. So it is one of those things like if you like stability or if you like a set schedule, then it's definitely the last place you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you comfortable with the unknown of predictability, I guess, in your life? Like, do you like that it's kind of spontaneous and you're kind
Hmm.
of all over the place in a sense?
I mean, to an extent, I love it. Like it definitely it doesn't fit the norm, I would say. Like I enjoy it. I don't think necessarily a lot of people around me enjoy it. Like I know my girlfriend doesn't enjoy it. I'm looking at my dad right now. I'm pretty sure he sometimes doesn't enjoy it too because they bug me. When are you working? When are you going on this trip? Like, once in a while, touching a nerve.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, I am very impatient as well, but more so patient now, I think. But it is I do like the unpredictability. Would I love to know where I'm going? Absolutely. But you go where life chooses.
yeah.
Like that's literally, to put it bluntly, like that's how it is.
As long as there's photography in it, you're all right.
Yeah, like exactly. I'll pick and choose projects. I'll choose trips to go on. I'll um I was published in Nat Geo and various other magazines, and I have movies, and I'm working on books and all of this stuff. Like, it's great. It is definitely one of this year is the highlight of my career so far, but there's so much more,
Yeah,
and right now I don't even know what that more is yet. Like, you know.
yeah. It almost seems like there's not enough time to create everything that you want to create, eh?
Oh, there definitely isn't. Like, and it's hard explaining to like society, I guess, that is so based on schedules and 9 to 5s and people responding to emails right away and messages and social media, and people want responses right away to things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Like I barely have enough time for myself. Like
Yeah,
yesterday I worked a night shift and this morning I was up at 9 in the morning sending emails because most of my work is in Europe. Like it's one of those things, right? So
I just got a notification. This meeting will end in 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah, yeah. All good. We can reset. I can reset it after.
Perfect. Yeah. Um. Dang it, that got me distracted.
No, it's yeah, it's all good. If you don't want this time left upgrade thing on your screen, I don't know if that's in your recording. I can end it and I can start a new one.
Mine just said close. I got rid of it. So, oh,
Oh,
time
okay.
left. Oh, where it says 9 minutes. Yeah, I don't care about that. That's what I
Okay,
did.
sounds good. Yeah, yeah. Then all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I think from that sense, it doesn't fit the norms, and I always get not asked, but like people just expect responses from me right away. And at this point, I'm like, I'm sorry, like I have a mailbox that's 50 emails right now in backlog and 300 messages on Instagram
Yeah.
and a million of these little to-do tabs plus all the ones on my computer. Like, yeah, it takes a minute.
Yeah, that seems hectic. I'm so thankful you reached out. I like again, like I'm sending out DMs, like direct messages and emails all the time to people and just like, hey, I'd love to have this person on. I'd love to have this person. When I saw that you like reach back and you're like accepting of doing this, take your time for it, I was like, no way. I was like, this is insane. Like, I don't know. I just it's such a I don't know, it's such a cool thing, and I see you as a really cool person. And I mean, you are a cool person, but I wasn't expecting, you know what I mean? You just got to shoot your shot. Like, not necessarily it's anything's going to come of it, but
Yeah.
you actually were willing to come on and have a conversation with a 20-year-old kid.
Well, it's it's that's the thing. It's like photography is a very, like I said, it is a career that we're not very social people who I mean I like to be social but with a select group of people. That being said, I also love talking about my work. I love talking about the polar bears. I When I do get a chance to talk, I do like to talk after my mom that way for sure. But it is one of those things where when I was growing up, like I had my father to look up to. He was a photographer. He taught me everything. And in that sense, but not a lot of kids have that. Like, young wildlife photographers, people like that, people that just got in the industry because they like wildlife and they know how to take pictures. Like, no one's really there to show them, to guide them, and it is hard, especially as a young photographer. Like, you, as a teenager, when I wanted to go take pictures, I there was a reason I didn't enter competitions from the year like 2012 to 2021. And it was literally that reason of, I was a teenager. I couldn't handle the fact that when I didn't win, I felt that I wasn't good enough. And that's literally not the case at all.
Yeah.
But it plays with you. So you stop entering, you stop trying, and then you're like, I'm incredibly stubborn. Like, I literally just need someone to tell me that, you're not doing enough, and I just get so pissed off that I just like go into overdrive, and I'm like, yeah, no, there goes 100 emails to all these producers and all this stuff. So like, it's good in that sense, but like, back to even this, it's like, it's important to talk, and just because you have a name for yourself doesn't, it means literally nothing. Like,
Yeah. Right.
uh, so
Yeah, and I mean, like people that are listening are gonna check out your work. Also, do you want to mention the two websites right now of what you have?
yeah, so I have like www.matcopictures is my nature website, and then my cityscapes and people portraits, things like that, is www.martingregusjr.com. But I do post, like, for the most part, I've completely relied on Instagram right now. Like, I unfortunately don't have the time to really edit all my pictures. Like, the polar bears obviously took priority, but we're not looking at, 10, 15 pictures. We're looking at about 100, 200,000 pictures from expeditions. Like, I still haven't edited my pictures from Antarctica in 2019. So it's safe to say I'm sitting probably on a backlog of like 500,000 pictures that
Wow.
I just don't have the time to edit because you're on expedition. And if it's a paid expedition, then you have to edit all those pictures from that expedition to your client. And all those little ones that are now just getting further and further and further away. Maybe one day I'll get to it.
Yeah.
But that's another reason why I just do Instagram, because I can post one picture. I don't need to post a whole category. I don't need to post a whole expedition. I
Yeah.
selected and chose 10 pictures from Antarctica. Those are literally the 10 pictures that I saw.
Yeah.
And I post those. And when I want to post more, I just go back to the catalog. And in my mind, I remember which day was good, which day wasn't. And um, I still, luckily, remember most of my trips. I'm definitely getting to the point where they're getting
Yeah. Getting kind of
scattered.
combobulated. Yeah.
Yeah, but it still works. So
Yeah. And Instagram's the best thing for photography because I mean it's the number one social media app. I think it's the most viewed app as well as it's picture and video. So
oh, it's yeah, it is absolutely. Like, I wish I got into it sooner. Honestly, like, I didn't start an Instagram until 2019. Yeah, like, yeah, 2019 I opened up Instagram
oh,
and
you're
started
really
an
taking the
account.
wildlife to a full level back then, eh?
Yeah, well, it was, yeah, like, I never had it.
Yeah.
And I'm not so regretful now. Like, it's literally exploding right now. Like, I posted a video the other day. It has, I think, 2.5 million views this morning. Like, um, so no shame in that anymore. But
Yeah. Insane. Was
yeah,
it the
could
polar
have
bear
known
video
sooner.
that you just posted?
Yeah, it was because most of my pictures have a video component to them, especially because I use drones for a lot of my work. So I'll take a picture and then I'll do a video. So I had a video of the same picture that was in Nat Geo, and I posted that one, and it's just gone absolute insane. Which, like, even when I was picking that picture, like, that wasn't my favorite picture, like, to be honest with you. Like, I love the picture, but I didn't think people would have that much of a strong connection to it. And now I get messages of, people being like, yeah, I was having a really bad time, like, I suffering from depression and going through a really tough stage in my life, and then I saw your Instagram, or I saw your picture pop up on my feed, and it like changed my day, or it changed my life, and all of this stuff. And you're like, wow, like,
Yeah.
this is why I do what I do. Like this is
I don't know why that is. Like I've personally never met somebody that's said those things, but there's so many people out there. Like I guess I don't know any career ever on social platforms say like, oh, I've changed people's lives. Like they get
mm,
messages about that stuff, and it's kind of wild that something as small as a photo. Like I'm not saying that a photo is irrelevant
no,
compared to
of
something
course.
else, but something like that can literally change someone's day and give them a new perspective on things.
No, and it's like we all have our issues. Like I crashed my car a month ago. I had a really bad accident. It cost me about $60,000. I could have killed myself. Like I went into 2 weeks of depression. I didn't post anything on Instagram, and it literally took my dad being like, "Okay, enough sitting on the couch. You should do something." And I got so pissed off that I wasn't doing anything that I ended up working 24/7 for a week and then going to Europe.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, at least you take the opposite route. Some people don't do anything, but you're the opposite. You're like, I gotta get work done. This is how I get my mind off things. Let me just hustle even more.
well, yeah, but I mean, to be fair, I like again, it's one of those things where I would look at my to-do list and it would get shorter and shorter, and I'd get excited, and then one day would show up and be like, I need you to send this, I need you to send this, and all of a sudden that to-do list grows, and I'm kind of just accepting now for the fact that that list is never going to go away.
Yeah.
Like I'm never going to close that tab.
You just
So
tell people that I'll put you on the list. I'll get you when I get you.
yeah, like that's kind of what it is, pretty much what it is now. But I try to reply like even on Instagram. I as much as I have people helping me with it and running it, I do reply to every single message on my own or read every comment and things like that. So I do try and stay on it.
I was checking out more of your polar bear photos, and your favorite one, I don't know if it's still your favorite because you might have saw more, but it was the one of you in a boat right beside the polar bear.
The when with the phone picture
Was it your phone?
with let me
The bear was right there and it like splashed you almost, or there's like a splash in the photo.
oh yeah, the one in the water. Yeah. I know
Yeah.
exactly which one you mean. Uh It is definitely one of my favorite photos. It's one of my favorite photos in the sense of how long it took to get that photo. Um, because that's, people always ask that question. Like it's are your photos photoshopped and how long does it take? In that sense, it took 6 years to get that picture. Like the idea came to mind, and I'm always when I look at the environment and even when I'm looking at people or nature or anything, I'm trying to think of a different way to see it or a different way to take a picture of it. So when I was in the Arctic and we saw these polar bears or this polar bear swimming with the whales in 2015, I thought it would be cool if or me and my dad thought it would be cool if we put a camera in the water and see this bear from a completely different angle. So the idea came to mind there. And then it's like, okay, you're doing something that how many people have gone in the water with a polar bear and done that. So all of a sudden that's coming to play. You're figuring out techniques, equipment, things like that. So we built a custom boat. Didn't end up working the way we thought. So ultimately ended up coming down to a situation of I'm in this situation now. I don't know if this is ever going to repeat itself. I've learned over the years that the only things I've ever regretted were opportunities I didn't take or trips I didn't take. And literally, that was the only thing. So I was like, okay, if I'm not going to get in the water right now, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. So I put the camera on a monopod and put the underwater camera at the end and went up to we're in the boat and put the boat up next to the bear and waited and for the bear to come by and ultimately got that shot. And I was like a meter away from the bear, like literally the length of the monopod. Um, so your adrenaline is going, but it's one of those moments where it's 7 years going down to 2 minutes or not even maybe like 2 seconds
Yeah.
in that sense, but you have to do it.
So when you take the photo, is it the photo that you like so much, or is it actually like the experience that you got to see the polar bear right beside you swimming, just
Yeah,
like
it's a mix of both. It's a fine line between the experience of getting that picture and knowing that what you got is extremely unique. Because I look at some of my pictures and I'm like, I've seen that, I've seen that, that's been done, that's been done. And then there's a few moments where you're like, okay, that has never been seen before, or that has never been done before. And usually those are the moments that actually have the best story too in it. Um, various ones of the polar bears and fireweed. Like that's such a unique story on its own of the bears and pink flowers. So multiple times you get up and you take a picture and or you're sitting down next to these bears and you're like, okay, well, like this is something else. This hasn't been done. This hasn't been seen. Like, yes.
Yeah. No, I when I saw that photo, I was like, man, I would love to be in that position to just see this giant white beast beside me, just probably elegantly swimming beside you. Probably like a beautiful image to capture in your mind. It would just
Oh,
be,
it's one of those that is born in your mind, and then you try and put it on paper, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it takes a lot of time for it. But when you're there, the experience is great, but it goes by so fast.
mhm.
My dad always said like he lives through the trip when he gets home, and he knows that he made it home and everyone's safe and everything is good, and he's going through the pictures and he's like, yeah, it was fun. And to an extent, that is the process. Like personally, like going through the pictures, the 100,000 pictures or so from that one trip was like a tedious task and took a long time. But now when I'm writing posts on Instagram or seeing people's real reactions to the pictures, then I'm reliving it and going like, okay, that was really fun, or that was a really cool experience, or that was just insane, or whatever.
Yeah. I I'm trying to film one of my friend's hunts right now. Like tonight's the first night I took off. Here it's 5 o'clock. We're 5 hours apart or
Oh,
four
where are
hours
you?
apart. I'm in New
You're in.
Brunswick.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're 4 hours apart,
Yeah.
and so I've been with him every night hunting and trying to get some film, and just like he always wanted his hunt filmed and he's never had that before. So I was like, oh, I'll come with you. Like I have a few cameras. I don't really know what I'm doing or how to do it. I've never filmed wildlife at all. Never once, not even a bird, not even I don't know, porcupine or something. But uh my cameras go like every time they turn on. I just have some Canons, like nothing special, I guess. And I can't even bring them out because the deer will just get spooked in a second. If I, as soon as I turn it on or off, it's just gonna go, and then they
Uh,
waste the
man.
opportunity.
Yeah, but I mean, but it depends on the animal too. Like a lot of the time, I think we associate like, oh, it's gonna make a sound or it's gonna do this and it's gonna distract it. But even with the polar bears, like people ask me, like, have you been in hides? Like, did you have hides set up so that they don't know you're there? And it's like, well, you want them to know you're there. Like,
Right.
the last thing you want is for them to have no idea that you're there at all. Like I don't sneak up on them. It's not an owl. Like I've sneaked up on owls and I've gotten to a few feet from an owl and been taking pictures like that because that's something you want to sneak up on. But ultimately, you want to talk with them. You want to communicate with
Yeah, I
them.
was
You want
gonna
to
say
let
you
them
have
know you're there.
conversations with them, don't you? Like, aren't you like, hey, how's
Oh
it
yeah,
going,
absolutely. Yeah,
Veronica?
yeah, exactly. Like you, that's literally exactly it. Like they have names and they have characters, and we know who they are, and we walk up to them and we communicate with them, and yeah, you treat them like family.
Man, it'd be if oh man, I couldn't even imagine the feeling of just having like, and maybe the bear doesn't even have any relationship or doesn't have a care in the world that you're there. But from our experience, like you being able to feel like you have a connection with this and almost like another family member, like that would
I
be,
think I think they can definitely tell, like from being around enough of not just them, but in terms of wildlife in general. I definitely think that if you communicate with them or if you're putting in that time, animals are used to somebody running at them. Whether it be predator or prey, prey is used to their predator running after them, and predators usually when someone's running after them, it means that they want to fight. So if you come at it from that approach of I'm running after this animal, then that animal is going to think that you're there to do something to it.
yeah,
But if you take an hour or more to work with this animal, then they look at you like, who is this guy? Like if he wanted to hurt me, he would have done it already. If he wanted to
Yeah.
fight me, he would have done it already. Right?
Yeah,
So
it's the same as like if I went outside right now in my yard and a squirrel just came running after me, I'd be pretty intimidated.
yeah, you know, you
But
either
if a
run away or
squirrel
you
was yeah, but if like every morning a squirrel saw me have my morning coffee, right? And it always was just there observing
yeah.
me. There would be that connection and it would be
No,
the same for
exactly.
them, I guess. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that makes way more sense.
No, it's that's literally it, right? Like, and you have to put yourself like exactly like you did. You put yourself in that shoes of a squirrel or even a person. Like if someone is running at you, you know, like big guy or girl, whoever is running at you, and you're just gonna freak out. You're gonna like, well, who is this guy? What are they doing? Like, do I run? Do I fight?
Yeah.
But if you're communicating and you're building that friendship, then all of a sudden, why would you run away? You
Yeah.
know this person, you know this animal, so
Yeah.
and it works both ways. I'm
Right.
sure. It,
Exactly. I think I don't know who said it, but I heard a conversation one time and it was like, well, obviously the snake's gonna bite you because you're putting its hand around its head or your hand around its head. How would you feel if the snake put its body around your neck? Like you wouldn't feel great. Or like anything came for your neck or held you by your neck, like you would obviously immediately try to shoo them off. So
no,
like
exactly. Like,
obviously a snake or whatever is gonna try to put harm on you or defend itself if you're gonna
well,
put
that's the
its
thing,
hands
right?
on it.
It's like, and it's a matter of no, like, would I recommend some of my followers go out into the Arctic and get as close to polar bears as we have? Absolutely not. It's going to eat you. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you have to know your subject. You have to know your animal. You have to know that specific animal. Um, and then
And
you
you
work around
you
it.
you take a lot of pictures in the summertime with the polar bears, right?
Yeah.
Are they more calm? Is there different behavior in the
I
summer?
I do think they are more calm in the summertime. The way the polar bear mentality, I guess, works is in the summer they're hibernating. They're not sleeping, but you know they're looking for food and scraps and whatnot. But they're mostly hibernating. As soon as winter comes and the snow comes, they know that they should be hunting.
Yeah.
Like in the summer, they know they're not hunting. If they catch food, they're happy. If they don't, they're not too fussed about it. But in the wintertime, they that pressure builds. And the later that season is with climate change and everything, those seasons are later and later. So you feel that pressure and they get aggressive, not just between people, but within each other. And you do get those dynamics where I would never probably see a mom and cubs and so many of them together in the wintertime as I do in the summer.
Yeah.
Um,
And food's more scarce, right? In the winter for
in the
polar
summer
bears?
for
Oh, in the
polar bears,
summer it's more
yeah.
scarce. So how
Like
come they get more, I guess, dominant in a sense in the
so
winter?
they're reversed. So polar bears are reversed to like grizzlies, black bears, things like that. They
So yeah, they just flourish in the cold climates compared to the warm
yeah,
climates.
because as soon as it gets cold, the ocean freezes. They can hunt seals, whales, whatever. They can go out on the ice. They don't hibernate. They don't sleep in the winter.
Yeah.
So they're gonna go out and hunt, and then in the summertime, they're in like that kind of like holiday stage of well, I shouldn't be eating. If I eat, I eat. If I don't, I don't. And as soon as winter starts to approach, though, then they're like, and it's also so late in the season. Like they, by that point, a lot of them, if they haven't picked up any food during the summer, they probably wouldn't have eaten for 4 or 5 months. So they're agitated. They want to get on the ice. They want to
Yeah.
feed. And yeah, I would think twice about walking around a polar bear in the winter time.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I don't like there's towns that leave their door like isn't there I don't know.
it's
I've
Churchill.
seen many videos of like this town that leaves all their doors open because the polar
Yeah,
bears will come and
it's Churchill. It's out of like the
Churchill, yeah.
base for all these expeditions is Churchill, and yeah, they don't lock their cars, they don't lock their apartments because you never know when you might need to go into someone's house and
Yeah.
hide from a polar bear.
You literally turn a corner from the cafe that's there and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
there's a polar bear right there.
oh, exactly right, and they have more places to hide in the city, right? Like I mentioned, you know, you want to talk to them and you want them to know you're there, but the polar bear has a sense a million times better than yours. When he goes into a city, he can smell literally every single house cooking, every, there's so many senses. So he's not smelling you,
Yeah,
in where we go, where you're the only person, like he knows you're there before you even saw him,
right.
but in the city he has absolutely no idea. So when you're going to turn a corner and there's a polar bear there, he's just as shocked to see you as you are to see
Yeah,
him.
he's like, "Whoa, what are you gonna
Yeah,
do?"
yeah, exactly. So
This is a question. Every film that you see of polar bears, they're like, "Oh, look, their white fur is hidden in the snow." But in film, obviously, they're shown very easily. You can easily depict it. But if you're out there in the wild with like the human naked eye, they'd be invisible, wouldn't they?
like in the wintertime, even in the summertime, like you mistake them for rocks. Because you especially around bird colonies, you have rocks. They have bird kind of on them, like they're white on the tops. So if the bear is sleeping, um, you just see a white hill.
Yep.
If
You're
it's
like,
not
"Oh,
moving, then usually it's not. So it is one of those like you have to be careful where you are. And in the wintertime, it is same thing. Like in whiteout conditions, you're not going to see it, but they have a yellow tinge to them. Um, your first polar bear would probably be hard to spot, but once you know what you're looking for, it's actually really easy.
okay."
Uh, like I've been on icebreakers in the high Arctic before, and you're looking out over, a frozen fjord that's, kilometers long, and you're looking with the long lens, and you're just scouting like this.
What's a fjord?
Like a long inlet, like a valley with
Okay.
water.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, you're looking out into these fjords and they're obviously frozen. Sometimes they're completely, sometimes there's jagged ice, and you're just looking for yellow dots. And
Cool.
usually eventually you get really good at finding them, but
Yeah. I feel like if I was just you put me stranded and I got to go search for one, I feel like I'd just be blind. Like just you couldn't see it coming or I don't know, but
It
maybe
takes practice and time, and the right place at the right time. Obviously, like if you happen to be looking at the bear when he's sleeping or when he's swimming or something like that, you're not going to see it. But
uh another question, I guess. What was the first animal you ever filmed? Do you know? You're probably so young that you don't even remember, but
I mean, I filmed like seagulls and ducks and mostly like urban animals. In terms of birds, I didn't get into actual like big game until probably the polar bear, because I never, and grizzly bears obviously and things like that, but I haven't done like a trip to Africa where you're on safari or anything like that. So it was mostly urban birds that I used to take pictures of and get awarded in competitions for as a kid. And then slowly stories started to emerge. I did a story on like snowy owls. And owls caught my eye for a long time. Then I did some stuff with bald eagles, and then it was like, well, you're filming bald eagles, you should film salmon. So we did a piece on salmon, and just ended up turning into like a whole migration piece. Right now, I'm just missing the bear part of it because I focus so much of my career on polar bears that I haven't really filmed like grizzlies, blacks, spirit bears, any of those, but we'll get there.
yeah. Oh, takes time.
Yeah,
Would you
exactly.
would you commit all your time to bears if you could? Or
No.
do you like you like the
I mean, even like right now, I'm polar bear guy. Everyone knows me for my polar bears. Like I've had people recognize me on my flights before, and they know me for my polar bears. I'm Polar bears are great. I love them to death. They've changed my entire life. But I'm gonna film other animals. Like I have various other projects on the go to film other animal species. I think once you focus too much on one animal, you're not setting yourself up for failure necessarily, but you're really subjecting yourself just to one niche. As a photographer, I feel like it's good to
Mhm.
take pictures and to expand that talent and to
Yeah.
and to keep filming
Well, you
because
have this skill, so you might as well use it on every possible thing that you can.
no, and I noticed that too. Like after I haven't been taking pictures for a few months and I go on a trip or an expedition or vacation or whatever, and it takes me a few days to get the hang of it. Like the first few pictures are definitely not as good as the last few pictures. So just getting rid of that segment and just taking pictures all the time, then all of a sudden you're able to go out on expedition and you're able to film without any issues.
Yeah. Uh, I think one of the most beautiful animals are like caribou or elk. Like I've always wanted to hear a bugle in real life.
Hmm.
I just think that'd be like the most beautiful thing to capture. Like I mean, I can go watch probably a million videos that are out there, but I just to
It's not
hear,
the same.
but to hear one in person and actually be able to view them and the herd
Yeah.
and stuff would be unbelievable.
Well, it's like hearing a loon or something like that, right?
Yep.
Like I have voice record or not voice recordings, but recordings of them, and I play them in my films and things like that. But there's nothing like like sitting on a lake and mist rising and whatever, and then you hear the call of the loon, and you're like, wow, this is crazy. I haven't spent much time with caribou. I do have a few projects on the go for caribou, but I haven't
That's wicked. Yeah.
haven't done much.
If you had to choose one country to film in for the rest of your life, do you know what country you'd choose?
No. It's like it's so hard because I mean everywhere is unique. Everywhere is nice. And again, like I'm not from Canada. I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
I think once you move somewhere once, you're more prone to wanting to leave again. So like even Vancouver, like I'm not set on living here forever. But at the same time, I don't know where I would go because like part of the beauty of photography and this kind of photography was I can do this job from anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because I don't like tying myself down to anything. I like to have the freedom and the will to do whatever I want. Like that's why I don't have a 9 to 5 with a boss. Like if I had a boss, I'd probably, it would not end well for
Yeah.
him or me or her.
Well, I don't
Like
know.
it just
Maybe it'd be
wouldn't
good for
go
him
well.
because if he just got really mad at you, then you'd get really mad and just do a lot more work for him. And then he'd be like, oh, now I don't know how Martin works.
Yeah, well, that's why. Yeah, I mean, probably for them it would be good, but for me, I definitely could never do it.
Yeah.
And same goes for a country or a city. Like I get so antsy if I'm in Vancouver for a long time,
Yep.
and it's funny. Like my girlfriend, I'll complain to her like, "Oh, I'm on another flight. Like I flew over 60 times this year," and I'll complain. I'll be like, "Oh, I'm on another airport, another flight, another this. Like I'm tired. I kind of just want to be home." She's like, "No, you don't. Like the last thing you want to be is home. Like you
Yeah.
hate at
Seriously.
home. Like you hate being in Vancouver. You hate being in any city. Like for too
Yeah.
long. Like you
Yeah.
love it and periodically, but if you stay in one spot too long, you just get bored.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm from a small town. I just want to get out and go travel around and just yeah. It's
No,
it's
it's
it gets mundane, especially when you're young, man. Like I understand where I'm from, like there's a lot of old people and nothing scares me more than old people all the time. Like I don't mind, my parents and my grandparents and stuff, but just seeing old people all the time and then you go to like a big city, you
yeah.
realize there's like these young people walking around all the time. It's a big difference and you're like, "Oh, like I kind of like this because I don't know, old people get kind of mundane and boring after a while."
Well, it's a change, right? Like it's like that's why I love traveling and like I mentioned this before, like the only things I've never regretted going on a trip. Like I've regretted being broke after a trip and having like $5 in my bank account or minus $5 in my bank account, but ultimately in the grand scheme of things you can make more money. You're gonna
Yeah.
make more money,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
it's not a permanent state.
Like what, when you're
uh,
90, you're not going to care about, oh, remember when I was 24 and I only had $30 in my account at that
yeah,
time?
you're gonna be
It's
like,
like,
yeah, I remember the cool trip to Europe I did, right?
exactly. Yeah. I went, yeah. That
So
doesn't make sense.
no,
Money's always
but
going to come.
exactly, right. And you get it. Like I definitely like again, I'm in a situation now where I have to buy a new car, and the car I crashed was our camera car. Like it was, yeah, like it's a very tricky situation, but at the same time I'm like I know this is gonna fix itself
Yeah.
eventually. It sucks right now. Definitely still sore about it,
Yeah.
but
What a good
ultimately
attitude, though. Like, you know that it's
Well,
just
it's
a
a good attitude
temporary.
now. You should have seen me like a month ago. Like you
Yeah.
would have been a very different interview.
Yeah. Well, I always told myself like if something bad happens or a bump in the road, as small or as big, well, okay, that's not good. If it's big, I give myself 1 day. All right, give myself 1 day, be a bum, be a slump, whatever you need to
Yeah.
do, however miserable you need to feel, whatever, who cares, 1 day. But by the next day, you got to get up and do whatever it is that you want to do. Like, I don't know,
It moves
or
on, right? Like
yeah,
you're not getting any younger.
right. I give myself 1 day. If anything's serious enough, like I give myself 1 day, whether it's a death or just something in my life that's occurred, and it's like frig, like any obstacle. That's the simple way to put it. And it's just like 1 day, fine. But if it's small stuff, like you break a camera or something, it's like frig, like all right, whatever, keep going.
It sucks. Ultimately, it's only money, but
Yeah,
you know, yeah, it's a tough one, but you get over it and you move on and like I'm a huge person of saying like everything happens for some reason, even though
yeah,
you don't understand it. Eventually, you might. So,
yeah.
um,
I
yeah,
agree.
you
I
don't
mean,
know
I
what.
I believe in God and stuff, but I think He just puts everything for a reason. Like I just say, hey, He let this happen. He let this happen. Whatever.
It happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
Oh,
I'll.
I thought you were swatting a fly.
No, no, no. My dad's going to work, so yeah, one of those. Yeah, obviously, one of those things. Live in Vancouver, you live with your parents because you can't afford to live anywhere else.
Yeah,
But
the photography life. Yeah, but I guess it's that stigma, right? Like money is so important now. Like it's almost the world. You need money. You need money. You need money. But I don't know. It's
well, that's why I like like I enjoy the polar bears. That's why I enjoy the Arctic. That's why I enjoy all these things. Obviously, you couldn't get there without money, but at the same time, I'm like when you're there, you're just in such a complete different landscape and like I'll choose being around an animal over a person any day. Like no offense
yeah,
to people, but like I just can't do it. Like the drama and all the chaos and everything that goes with it and all that stuff. Like in that sense, like when people ask even like were you in danger? Did you feel in danger? I'm like, no, I feel so calm when I'm around these animals.
hmm
That even the stress I'm having is miniature compared to say something I have at home. Like I don't have signal. I don't have to reply to emails. I don't have a schedule. Like my schedule is waking up in the morning and seeing what this bear is going to do. Like,
yeah. No, that's
that
that's sweet.
I'm
I was gonna
envious of myself sometimes when I'm sitting in my office and I'm like, wow, I really want to,
be out
be,
there.
be me 2 months ago. Like,
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, what is Martin's time for himself? Like, if you're like, I guess it sounds like you don't have any time for yourself, really. Like, you got to get something done at least every single day.
uh,
Um,
yeah, my
but
time from my time is my work. Like even now, like I'm just before our call and right after this call, I'm editing a documentary on Africa that I'm helping to co-direct. Like that is my spare time. Like I can't sit still necessarily. But at the same time, I do enjoy like I don't know, going out to dinner with my girlfriend or my family or just
mhm.
like you become so appreciative of the little time. Like I say little time, it sounds like I'm dying tomorrow, but
Yeah,
like the little time you have at home with the people that you care about, you become so appreciative of that
yeah.
that you just want to spend it with them. Like I got back from Europe and my dad came and picked me up at the airport and we got in an argument. I'm
This
like
isn't worth the time. Yeah, like I only get.
like yeah, like I'm gonna see you for 2 months and then I'm off somewhere else. Like this is
Yeah,
useless. Like
yeah.
but at the same time, obviously, like I'm stubborn and hot headed, so arguments are gonna happen. But I do enjoy just yeah, sitting at home. And I can't even say watching TV because when I'm watching TV, I'm writing emails or like that. Like I'm not.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
It's and especially working on those time zones of like literally most of my calls are in Europe. Like most of my work is in Europe. So adjusting to that where now I work probably from like 7 in the morning to noon, like nonstop, and then I have a few hours to run my errands because obviously things pile up when you're
Yeah.
traveling. Like, you have to go to the bank, you have to get food, you have to do this, you have to fix cars, you have to do all this stuff. So those things just pile up, and oh
Yeah, another 10 minutes.
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of my spare time is still my work.
That's a good thing. A lot of people don't have that, right? You gotta, and that's another thing to be appreciated of. Like some people are slave driving, like they are just men or women that are miserable that can't,
What's
I don't
it?
know, like they can't live with themselves almost doing what they're
Well,
doing.
even this job, right? Like when I'm working, I'm working. When I'm working with the polar bears, I'm working. I don't stop for 24 hours a day, literally. Like I get up at 4, I go film. I'm filming all day. If the auroras are out, I'm filming all night. Usually a
Mhm.
bear will wake me up. You get little to no sleep. You have to love your job. You really have to love your job
Yeah,
to be able to do that. Other if because you're not gonna no regular person, no normal person would subject themselves to that environment just for fun.
yeah,
Not for that much time, not for the entirety of a year or more or a lifetime.
right. They'd look at
uh,
it and be like, "Oh, I have to sleep like this for 2 months, and I have to."
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, like I miss it when I get home. I want that,
Yeah.
stupid smell of bug coils burning and all this stuff.
I think the reward of your work though, like you're not thinking about what I have to do for myself. You're thinking like, what am I here to do?
um,
What am I excited here to do? And that's kind of the main focus. So it's not even like you have time to be like, ah, like weather sucks today and I'm cold or I'm a little hungry today. Like it's whatever.
and I ultimately like I don't do it for the publicity. I don't do it for I when I went first for this trip, I didn't think it was going to end up in National Geographic. I didn't think it was going to win the largest competition in the world. Like I didn't think it was going to get this far. I didn't think that in a span of a year and a half I'd become a common name and I'd be relatively famous in my city in Slovakia or even in Vancouver. Like I didn't think that was going to happen. It happened. It's hard to comprehend right now how it happened, but it's you don't expect that. Like I do it because I love it. I don't do it because I want to be somewhere or in some magazine or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. Ultimately, I do it because it's my passion and my job, and sometimes it leads me to cool publications
Yeah.
and dreams come true. Like obviously, it was like everything that happened this year was a dream come true, but I never expected
Yeah.
it.
TD Jakes, he's a preacher, pretty famous preacher in the States. And he said he always wanted to be effective, not famous. But he said he didn't realize that if he wants to be effective, fame is what kind of came with it. So I don't know, it kind of sucks, but
It's funny, as a kid, I always wanted to be famous. Like I always wanted, because now I don't really like fame is a relative thing. Like I want to leave something behind. I don't care how famous I am or who knows me. Like as long as I can leave something behind, like some sort of legacy, whether it be with polar bears or if I change one person's life, I that's enough. Like I just want something eventually.
yeah. What
And
you
that's
should
enough.
do is
But
get your dad to film you at all times instead of whatever you're trying to film.
I need like one of those. There's like that movie with Tom Hanks, and he has that, or like they have that. What's that girl's name too from Harry Potter? I forget her name.
Hermione,
Yeah, Watson. Last name.
Emma Watson, yeah.
Yeah, Emma Watson. And yeah, she has like a little camera and records every moment of her life. I think I would need that sometimes because I'm like, even social media for me, like posting something on Instagram or doing something like that, it's such a almost a hassle just because it takes so much out of my day to I love doing it because I love being involved with people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, if I could just have a little thing here and I could talk to it and someone could ask me questions and I'd answer and I'd go do about my job, I'd be a lot happier because
Yeah, that'd be wicked.
but maybe sometime in the future, we'll see.
Yeah. Shout out to Elon Musk maybe and
Yeah. Maybe he'll do something about it.
yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to keep you up with your schedule and stuff. I'll let you
Oh, good.
Get going to work and stuff. We only have 5 minutes left, anyways.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, all good. Yeah, I'm just editing this documentary film. That's my goal for today, and Halloween's coming up, so I'm looking forward to seeing my friends. That's another thing. Like people expect me to reply to emails or not reply to emails, reply to them specifically, and I'm like, I don't even see my friends. Like I
yeah,
go up at parties and the first thing friends or my friends say to me now is like, I didn't even know you were home. I'm like, well, neither did I. Because at this point, I stopped telling people that I'm gonna be around. Because if I tell someone I'm gonna be around and I don't show up, they're disappointed. But if
yeah,
I just show up,
yeah.
everyone's excited to see me.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, like wow, we didn't know. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Look at me, look at me. I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah. No, it's great. It's like your little 5 seconds of to shine, but
Yeah.
that way no one's disappointed.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
with your work, like you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be back. Like you even texted me and you said, I'm supposed to be back for October 14th. And I was like, you're filming like photos. Like I was like, you could take an extra week for all I know. I was just like, I had
no,
no
that's the thing.
idea.
It's like it, and I tell that to people now. Like if it's immediate, don't even try. Like a few reporters try to schedule calls with me in Europe, and I'm like, if it's not something where you need me on camera, if it's not something where you need me in person, or you need me to dedicate a certain amount of time, just call me.
Hmm.
Like I'll pick up the phone if I'm busy. I'm not, but it's probably the best way to reach me because if I need to schedule something in, it's difficult because I have so many other things that are not even on the schedule.
But
But I will always pick up the phone and talk.
yeah, exactly.
So it's a lot easier. But
Yeah. Martin Gregus, everybody. Do you want to shout out your websites and your Instagram just before we
yeah,
close?
yeah. So nature, matcopictures.com, people, martingregusjr.com, at my wild live. That's where I post all my stuff. It's bumping right now, and we have a good week planned for Polar Bear Week next week. So it should be fun.
Yeah, exciting. And on
Awesome.
Instagram, Martin Gregus Jr. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, my wild live. It's just Martin Gregus. My dad's Martin Gregus, but he doesn't have
Oh,
Instagram.
I say
So
Gregus. I don't know why, but
yeah, it's like it's Slovakian. It actually should not even be Gregus. It's like Gregush, but no one knows how to
Gregus.
pronounce it in Canada. So
Gregush. Did I say it right? Is that
yeah,
okay?
so I don't use it. Like I ever
Grey,
since like
Grey Goose.
Greg. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It was amazing to have you on. I'll keep up with
yeah,
your work.
pleasure.
I'll follow you on my Instagram page, my podcast
Thanks,
Instagram
man.
page. Yeah, you're amazing. I'm gonna keep up with your stuff.
Awesome,
Uh,
man. Well, it was nice chatting with you. Good luck
yeah,
with everything, and yeah,
thank you. Appreciate it so much. All right, see you,
no
Martin.
problem. Yeah, have a good one.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.